Gab and Jam, episode 293.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
All right, so today's episode is how has songwriting changed over the years?
Over the years. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's deep.
It is, but we're going to try to keep it short. Three main things
we kind of talk about like popular songwriting, right? Yeah.
Just songwriting in general. Okay, so let's see. Independent artists.
No, I'm just saying like pop songs. That's all I'm trying to say. I mean, we're not talking about like classical stuff and all the rest of that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, because that just gets so deep. So let's just kind of say for this,
okay,
let's just think in terms of popular music,
that sounds good.
Right.
Okay.
A tisket, a tasket, that kind of stuff, right? Well, you had the jazz kind of stuff and, and show tunes and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Those used to be like the pop songs of the day.
So that's the first thing. The first thing to consider with how has songwriting changed over the years is culturally, what is a particular genre has completely changed.
Right.
So when you say pop today, when you say rock today, when you say R&B today,
right.
It means something completely different from yesteryear.
Right.
And then also there are genres that nobody ever heard of.
Right. And because like minstrel shows, those used to be, they would produce the pop songs of that day. What I mean? And then as you got into jazz and that kind of thing.
When you say jazz,
right?
That means completely different things to different people. And over the years,
but it has evolved. Jazz has evolved over the years, but you had like vocalists like Ella Fitzgerald and people like that who were doing like these standards, and they probably weren't standards at the time, but things that evolved into being standards, right? But very complicated chords and chord changes and things like that, that we used to see. But I think bubbling under all of that, which is kind of apropos that I started off with that, is the blues.
Okay.
So I think that the blues has always been a cornerstone, especially with American popular music.
Yeah.
It has been the thing that has always infused itself.
Yeah.
With whether it was, you think about religious music that came over, that became gospel because of the blues.
Yeah.
Or, you think about classical music, to me, became jazz because of what? The blues.
Yeah.
It's like that the blues is always on country music, country western music. It has what? The blues.
Yeah.
And
definitely rock.
Right. Rock and roll has the blues.
Yeah.
R&B has what? The blues.
Yeah.
So everything has this undercurrent to me, especially with American popular music of the blues.
Mm-hmm.
That the blues is always this undercurrent of what always injects itself.
And I guess even the ethos of, if you look at something like Dream Pop or some of these others, with the emo type of, it's still the emotion even. Yeah. It kind of still harkens back to the ideas.
Or progressions. It's like these progressions, the fact that we use the blues scale, the fact that, there's these certain tones that we have within, our regular pop music that to me harkens back to the blues. When I was younger and I would hear something like that, that would always make me say, what are you talking about?
Right.
This is not the blues. But once you start playing it, and you start kind of understanding, oh wow, there's, like the more I played the blues or listened to the blues, was I able to say, Jimi Hendrix was really a blues guitar player.
He was.
That's the cornerstone. I mean, that is definitely the house and the foundation in which he built everything.
Yeah.
And I think for us, as far as popular music goes, that has kind of been there, But as we've kind of seen the way that popular music has changed, like over the years from being, I think to some degree, it started off to me being more complicated.
Okay.
Well, let me kind of take that back a little bit, because I think the pop song, if we go back to the 40s and that kind of stuff, the 2-minute pop song existed.
Yeah.
The 3-minute pop song existed. Yeah. So that was there, I think probably by the time we get to the 60s and artists start to, I guess, get a little bit more self-indulgent, you know, I mean, and probably take themselves a little bit too seriously.
Well, they're writing about their lives and the things they believe in.
When you start getting album-oriented type of rock, you start getting these things where, you know, when an artist would put out an album, it became, you know, like Dark Side of the Moon. Even before that, Sgt. Pepper, Pet Sounds, you know, Stevie Wonder's songs in the Key of Life, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. These albums, you know, David Bowie and the Ziggy Stardust stuff, you know, all of that stuff where, you know, we start getting these conceptual statements that, you know, artists would make. Matter of fact, with Led Zeppelin, they refused to release Stairway to Heaven as a single. You know, because it was like, you know, hey, that's getting away from this whole standard that we have, you know, of
giving it a complete picture.
The whole thing. So you got more, you had longer intros, you had all the rest of that kind of stuff going on. And I think that even kind of evolved into the 80s. Rick Beato just recently did What Makes This Song Great on the Rhythmics. Here Comes the Rain Again. And one of the things that he analyzed was that it had this long intro. You know, you can't do that today.
Right. So thank you. That takes us to the second point. Another thing to consider about how songwriting has changed over the years is the modern songwriters' mantra is what?
Don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Right. And so, you know, you were talking about holding back the years, how when we listen to it now, it's like that would not be emblematic of a typical pop song today.
It would not be. Or even things from like back to these statement albums, Peter Gabriel's So.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then all the great songs that are on that. Just the pop music ear today isn't going to sit for that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the things that's happened is hip hop. And, you know, and I'm not saying this as a rag on hip hop. But to me, hip hop is more rhythmic than melodic. And so I feel like today's music, in some ways, because hip hop is so influential, it has more of an emphasis on the rhythmic component than it does on the melodic component. And so I think that kind of lends itself to, hey, you know, don't bore us, get to the chorus type of thing, you know, because of the simple fact that you can make a song today with very little melodic information.
Yeah.
You know, and
you're talking about
whatever it might be. I'm just saying, but that's possible. Little to no melodic information. You can make a song today, and I don't think at any other point in time in history that we really kind of have that, where the rhythmic component was such a big aspect of what we do, and I think that's probably been the advent of, you know, things like the groove boxes, you know, whether it's, you know, the SP1200s, the MPCs, and the rest of those
unboxing video for MPC Plus One. I'll put it down in the description in case you guys want to see it.
And all the rest of those type of devices that's out there, and, you know, the fact that people take samples and kind of chop them up and do things with them where you are looking to do things more rhythmically and less melodically. And sometimes the emphasis is less on that. And so, you know, you might hear things that feel like, oh, kind of out of tune or whatever else. You know, and I think it's because of the simple fact that there's more of an emphasis on the rhythmic component and less on the melodic part of it. You know, and I'm not saying that that's all music. Again. I'm just saying that I think
hip-hop is internationally influential. My goodness. It is just to hold the hip-hop culture and just all of that musically, like you said, you can go almost to any country and they have their version of, you know, the stuff that we hear on radio here. On the radio, you mean, on Spotify here. So, I do think that is a point that it...
and I probably finish songs, you know, I think we do. We probably finish songs with less melodic information today than we did maybe 20 years ago.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, just saying that as far as just having as many like instrumental parts that may have as many more changes,
probably more harmony because we have more tracks.
Yeah, well, harmonies that's true, but I'm just saying as far as just changes and things like that. Right. And I think a lot of it's because you can do a lot more sometimes with rhythm and with it just differently than what you could do a long time ago. I mean, to make something interesting a long time ago, it would take a little bit more from a musical perspective to do it. Yeah. Than what you have now. And I'm not saying one way is better or worse as much as it's different.
Just change, yeah.
Right,
And then you actually already have alluded to the third thing to consider with how have songs changed over the years, songwriting changed, is personal changes. So, like you were saying, we used to do more of an introduction, to the song, and now sometimes we even start directly into the chorus.
Right. I do that a lot now. I mean, so now Rodgers, that's something that they used to do with She, too. They would start with the chorus, but they would have an intro. And so you would have that longer intro and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But kind of jumping right off into the chorus, not spending too long on a verse and pre-chorus, having usually maybe 2 verses.
Right, that's what you were saying.
Instead of having like 3. Yeah,
used to be more of a standard of 3.
Yeah, you tend to not do that as much anymore. And I can't even say it's necessarily a conscious effort towards it as much as I just think even my ear has been more trained to think about music that way.
I think, and I think it's even beyond music. Your ear is probably trained to, you were saying before that you'd rather have people play it twice than to have them turn it off halfway through.
Right.
That you rather would leave them wanting more.
Right.
And so shortening, and I'm saying that even as far as our episodes, when we first started Gab and Jam.
Right.
So I'm saying even culturally, we used to do 45 minutes easily if you go back and watch some of those earlier ones.
Yeah.
And I'm saying now, I think 10 to 15, no more than 20 minutes.
Right. It's more than enough time.
Yes.
And that's the same thing for me. It's like, and usually it starts with me. It's like, when we're listening to it, if I feel like, okay, this song's over. You know what I mean? Then that's when it needs to stop.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like saying to myself, okay, so now how can I make that whatever period of time that I've been sitting there listening to it more interesting?
Yeah.
How can I make even that more interesting where I feel like, hey, I want to hear it again.
Yeah.
And I want to hear it again.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if a song ends up being 3 minutes long, it's 3 minutes long. If it ends up being over 4 minutes long or whatever, that's fine. It's because it felt right.
Right.
That's the thing. It's gotta feel good. If an intro feels good, if a song is begging for an intro, then give it an intro. But some songs to me don't beg for it. Some songs are like, hey, I want to get started.
Yeah.
Or, we may do songs like Rings, where what we do is we say, okay, we're gonna do an intro, but it's gonna be new. It's going to be different melodic information that I'm going to give you here. That's a bit rhythmic. You know what I mean? So it's kind of mixing the two together, So, and that's the thing that I think we've started to evolve into doing now, is doing more with like using vocals as instruments, as kind of part of the arrangement to give you both melodic and rhythmic information within one. Right. But I think that again, that's
more efficient.
And it's something I heard from Zed. Like what was that song he did with In the Middle? Was that Baby Rexa or Maren Morris? Yeah, The Middle. That with that little humming part that they had. That's going through that part. It was like I like that the way he's using that. It's giving me both rhythm and it's giving me this melodic information.
And which creates a vibe.
Right, it creates a vibe for the song, and it's like okay, I've got to start trying to figure out how to use that. So. Yeah, I mean, it's again, you can rag on stuff today, but it's just some people are really coming up with some good ideas. Charlie Puth, he's got a lot of different things where he does that too.
Yeah.
And it's, I love it. You know, I mean, it really kind of inspires me to, hey, do something new. Think differently. You know, try to keep things fresh. You know, so
keep it interesting for us.
Right.
You know, every time we approach something and add something, it's not just for other people. Most of the time, it's
always for us. It's always for us. Because you know, you guys might be like, "I don't give a shit."
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, I don't want to hear it. It doesn't sound good to me. Like, oh. Yeah,
whatever.
But I know for me, I'm like saying, I like this. I like what it's doing. You know, and there's some hits, there's some misses, there's, you know, stuff that's in between. You know, but hey, that's all kind of part of the creative process of just constantly producing, you know, material.
And constantly discovering what new you can add,
what else
change,
can I add?
what can I
How can I make this more interesting? What else can I do this? You know, if I'm like, not quite sure about this, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that might be a little bit of something else I can tweak and do this and do this and do that, you know, because I think that was like another song that we have, More Love Planted. You know, it was sort of like start out as an idea that I wasn't crazy about. And, you know, just kept kind of messing with it, twisting it this way, twisting it that way, trying this, trying that, trying this. And it's like, you know, that's like one of the few songs where I feel like we coerced a song or molded a song out of just clay. You know, a clay of an idea where it actually is like, oh, you know, this is actually turned into a pretty decent song. You know, it's like, you know, but it took a lot to kind of get there. And it took a lot of technology to get there. And I don't know if we were on tape, if that would have happened. You know, so, I mean, I'm not sure if that same type of magic happens, you know.
Capture that same vibe.
So.
All right, what about you guys? How has songwriting changed for you? Either in your personal process or observations that you made about songwriting by others?
Definitely comment, you know, and let us know if you like what we're talking about, if you dislike what we're talking about. And please just speak your heart, speak your mind. If you feel like, oh, there's a bunch of crap, you know, say it. You know, I mean,
and of course, if you have topics that you'd like us to investigate, investigate. I can't even talk. Even to cover, investigate, to look into. Hey, we love.
You know, or you want to further the discussion, and you say, hey, you know, maybe you guys could do like a live stream where you're talking about this. Where we can be more interactive. Or whatever else.
We're into live streaming now.
Right. You want to do that? Let's do that. You know, so. Yeah,
we're looking to hear from you. All right.
Speaking of live stream, we got a live stream coming up on June 30th,
7 p.m.
Eastern. Doing what?
One Love, Find a Way music video, and we'll be talking with you guys. It's been fun. It is getting easier. Because, you know, at first I was like cheap chattering, trying to get the tech together. And now, you know, it's a lot easier to understand what to do and how to do it and all that. So that's making it a little bit more fun. All right. If you dig the vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe, be sure to
subscribe.
We're wishing you love, peace, and
chicken grease.